Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this video. We'll talk even a little bit about crypto and XRP as well. And I said in my last video that I'm going to reveal the scariest movie of all time. And no, it is not They Live. We talked about this movie, though, over the past month. And this movie kind of puts in perspective exactly what's going on right now with the media. They Live is a movie that shows how the news and TV are ruining the minds of the common man, and how it's used exclusively to serve the rich, and how to make them richer. In an underground world, they collectively meet to celebrate their exploitations of the common man. If you haven't seen that movie, you definitely got to check it out. But this is the scariest movie of all time. It's the one we're living in right now. You know, this should be an exciting time. The fourth industrial revolution is here, and you invest into the revolution and you get very rich off of it. But at the same time, we have people trying to take control of every single person in the world. They're also trying to depopulate the world at the same time to push their new world order agenda. And they're doing it through the media. But look who owns the media. And look who owns the two biggest news stations out there, CNN and Fox News. And they keep people divided at the same time. Because anyone who watches Fox News would never get along with someone that watches CNN. Because they're fed two different narratives. And that's what keeps them divided. Digital identifiers, global government control. I can't believe they even showed this on Fox News. I can't believe it got past BlackRock. So Nigel Farage comments on the recent call by the unelected head of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, for world leaders to introduce digital identity cards, CBDC, and cashless society worldwide by 2030. If we are not careful, we will head towards a Chinese-style social credit system, where if you don't follow the views of the day, you will become inhuman. I can't think of a more dangerous initiative than this, and they've been pushing for this for quite a while now. We need to stand up and fight back against us. And the biggest thing they're going to use against us is a cashless society and a digital ID. A cashless society is all part of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. Resist, defy, do not comply. People are fighting back, and they're getting the word out to everyone else, trying to wake people up. I do it as much as I possibly can. You know, people should know what's coming. But, you know, they silence a lot of the comments, even over on X. Even if I try to play a video in this video that comes out of the World Economic Forum, for some reason it gets blocked. And they've been doing it more and more recently as well. I've been watching a trend on it. Then there's this scene. Well, the entire premise of this film, Early Warning, from 1981, starring Delana Michaels and Chris Wynn, is prophetic of the times we live in. Energy crisis, food shortages, devaluing of the dollar, digital ID, Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and the Great Reset. That movie was made in 1981. And it shows exactly where we are today. But we had a lot of warnings along the way. Whether it was in a movie or maybe it was someone talking openly, even all throughout the 80s, you had people talking, but nobody was listening. And even today, most people don't listen to you if you talk about the Great Reset. All part of the big plan to force people into a cashless society so the IRS can track spending and purchases. They've been shutting down a lot of bank branches lately. I thought they were shutting them down to save money, you know, on the lighting bill and the lease payments or whatever else other bills are tied to the building. But I noticed a trend with it, and I think what they're doing is they're making it harder and harder for people to do their daily banking. This way they would be forced to more use a debit card and an ATM. But we know that there's going to be more bank collapses in the future. It's all part of the Great Reset as well. As a bank falls, the bigger banks are going to swallow them up because it's easier to tie a handful of banks to a CBDC in the future, a central bank digital currency. Good morning, everyone. Morning thought. If they create a fully cashless society and force CBDCs, will that increase or decrease use of crypto? Will wealthy make massive transactions via CBDC, centralized bank, or will they use crypto, decentralized blockchain technology? They have to use crypto, and here's why. Here's why XRP is one of the greatest cryptocurrencies to be holding right now. Because if you have the Central Bank of China wanting to send money to the central bank in the United States, they're going to want a trust layer in between, and vice versa. And this is going to happen between so many countries all around the world. That's why XRP is so important. It moves money very fast, it eliminates a lot of the fees, and it also works as a trust bridge in between two CBDCs. But you couldn't even have a great reset without blockchain or crypto. David Icke video from 1998. Everything he said is playing out right now. They're talking about chip implants, forcing everyone to have a digital ID, fax passports, and programmable central bank digital currencies, a one world government and European army led by the USA and UK coming. And he was speaking like this back in 1998, 25 years ago. And here we are 25 years later, and central bank digital currencies are popping up all around the world right now. Then there's this, and this is the worst of it. They really want to push this cashless society, so this is right up the alley. I had seen this article dated April 2022 about a company that just came out with payment chips. There is a hand X-ray with the chip in the article. And they have to get it in you. They want you to have it in you so you can't remove it. I could see some crazy doctors out there removing people's chips in dark alleys somewhere, or hostels or hotel rooms. But that's going to happen in the future. We've seen that happen in other ways in movies in the past. I think a lot of the movies that we watch actually give us a glimpse into the future, is what I'm saying. But I am never, ever taking that chip. Everyone is already chipped. Phones are the chip. And if they pass requirements for digital ID and connect it to CBDC, you and everyone you love will become a slave. They track you by your phone right now, but it's easier if they get that chip in you. This way, even if you destroy the phone, they could still see exactly where you're going. But they're always going to talk about it being easier to travel, easier to make transactions. They always seem like it's something that you're going to want to have. But you cannot get this chip. That's going to be one of the things you definitely have to resist in the future. And it's also part of Executive Order 14067, a CBDC is. And if you read that executive order, in so many words, they describe it as something that doesn't need a vote if there's an emergency situation. I think they're rushing into that emergency situation so they can make it happen. Because I think they want a new financial system as soon as possible. Look what's going on with XRP and XLM. They're leveling the playing field right now, banking the unbanked all around the world. Because you can't start a new financial system and leave people behind. But I always said the digital ID is worse than a CBDC. Because it's going to be tied to every aspect of your life, your health insurance, your work history. Everything about you is going to be tracked and traced on a digital ID. And if you're out there speaking out on the internet, guess what? They're going to shut off your money. That's always been the plan for them. Now, one thing I want to point out, though, is I'm not 100% sold on the idea of a CBDC being used against people, because they're going to want to keep the money flow. And that's one thing I always pointed out in most of the videos I ever made on the Great Reset. World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab has decided that we have to get used to a total erosion of privacy. If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be afraid. Does anybody remember electing this guy the de facto dictator of the world? Because I don't. So this guy is calling all the shots, and he's not an elected official either. But he always wants to make sure that they can keep an eye on you, and they don't want you speaking out. That's the worst thing you could possibly do, is to speak out against a great reset. So the 15-minute city, an urban concept in which all basic needs can be satisfied within a 15-minute walk or bike ride, is catching on in the United States as an indirect reaction to the pandemic. You know, when I first talked about a 15-minute city at some point last year, and I pointed out exactly what a 15-minute city is going to become, people said the U.S. is never going to get on board with that. But a lot of our cities are already pushing in this direction. And a 15-minute city is going to be like a concentration camp with, all of a sudden you can't leave. And even if you try to leave, you have to have enough carbon credits to do so. Or your social credit score is going to have to be at a certain level before they let you leave the city for the day. But they want to keep everybody concentrated. And that's the one thing I don't like about it, because anybody that speaks out in a 15-minute city most likely would be, picked up and hauled off out of the cities, into exclusion or something, and cut off from the rest of the society. Every time we talk to someone about CBDC, digital ID, Great Reset, WHO pandemic treaty, Klaus sheds another tear. So you got to wake people up to this before it's too late. And there's so many ways you can do it, especially now because there's actual evidence of CBDCs in the world. A couple of years ago when you talked about this, people were like, you're absolutely crazy. That's not going to happen for decades. But now it's already becoming a reality. And the digital ID is something that they're pushing out slowly in this region and that region. I still think Ukraine is a testing ground for the U.S. digital ID and cashless society of the future, because they're already pushing in that direction through Stellar. But, I always invested in XRP because I think it's our one way to break away from this, maybe, enrich ourselves before it's too late. Because I don't think all the rich people in the world are going to be tied to a CBDC. They could buy their way out of it, maybe. And who knows? Maybe something will happen. The World Economic Forum might get dismantled. Maybe we get a leader that goes totally against the World Economic Forum. And maybe other countries get a new leader that breaks away from the World Economic Forum. But as it is right now, I think they're controlling most of these countries, especially if you look around the major cities. Remember, Klaus Schwab also said we have to prepare for a more violent world. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Even when you're going through X on a daily basis, you can see all the violence that's going on in the world. And, it wasn't like this not so long ago. Everything seems to be accelerating very fast. But, maybe this movie that we're living in right now will have a happy ending. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.